It's like a story straight out of a movie. As children, we all fantasized of pirates, treasure, mystery, and adventure. For one couple, they get to live that dream. Resting in the outskirts of Gravette, Arkansas, is a cave. But unlike most caves, the stories here involve a Spanish treasure. Legend has it that Spanish conquistadors, making their way north, robbed and pillaged various Native American tribes of their valuables. Knowing that warriors were hunting them down, the Spaniards hid out in a cave that they had discovered. As chance would have it, smoke from a vent in the cave was spotted as the natives moved in. Meanwhile, inside the cave, the Spanish hid their cash with an intent to retrieve it later. Whatever happened to that treasure is only part of the mystery. We had met the cave owners years ago while investigating the Crescent Hotel with KY3 News out of Springfield, Missouri. After hearing the claims and stories, the place always stuck in the back of our minds. We finally set up an investigation and were given a tour as we learned the legends and hauntings of the cave.
My name is Tracy Linscott. My husband Paul and I own the old Spanish treasure cave.
The Cavern, I've always been involved in caving in this region, and so I know a lot of the cave owners. I found out that this one was coming up for sale, and that's when I pursued it back in 1996.
The story says, in a time when the Spanish were exploring the New World, one of its parties made its way through northwest Arkansas.
Well, we do know that the legend dates back about 400 years ago to the Spanish conquistadors. They were soldiers from Spain. They were leaving in small groups trying to bring land and treasure back to the king. Now, the group that was here made their way into Old Mexico, and while they were there, they started robbing the Aztecs and the Mayans of their valuables. When they were through, they were still greedy and they were still looking for more, and they started making their way further into North America. Now, along the way, they also started robbing the Native American settlements that they came across too of their valuables.
But we do know that one of the groups worked their way up through here and came up here through a brutal winter storm. A lot of the horses were dying off, the carts were breaking down, so they took shelter inside the cavern. Now, they set up a camp in a big room called the council room, and off of the council room there's a natural chimney. Well, they had a campfire underneath this natural chimney, and that's how they got caught. See, the conquistador army was a very brutal army. They pillaged and raided a lot of Native American settlements along their way.
Well, unfortunately, one of the Indian settlements that they robbed, the braves were out hunting for food, and all that were left were women and children. Now, when they got back from their hunting trip, their encampment was completely destroyed, and they were very angry, and they started searching for those conquistadors. Well, that same fire that kept the conquistadors warm is also what got them caught, because the braves saw the smoke starting to rise from the top of the chimney.
So we know that they came over, they killed most of the conquistadors, but there was at least one survived, and he finished hiding and concealing all the entrances to the cavern. They drew a map out on parchment paper and carved another map into a limestone rock. Now, that almost brings us up to date, except the cavern was sealed up and lost. This cavern was not rediscovered until 1885. An old man from Madrid, Spain found some documents in a family Bible that was handed down to him. In some of those documents were maps how to get here, and there were treasure maps. And when he got to the general location, he hired some young men to look for a hoof imprint, like a horseshoe imprint carved in the bluff line. Well, when they found that, they brought the old man there, they dug straight down, removed a huge boulder, and it opened up in a great big massive cavern. And that's when the first treasure hunt took place, which is still going on today.
Although the hunt for the treasure continues, the location of the map remains a mystery.
Now, we do know that back in the fall of 1886, this old man became very, very sick. So he drew another map out and told the workers to reach the map to this one point and then write to him, and he'll come back, or they'll send somebody back, and then they'll go the rest away. Now, he paid these men very well to continue searching. Well, he took off and was never heard from again. So a lot of the workers gave up, and the cavern changed hands a little bit. We did find out what happened to that old man. He made his way back to an area over in Oklahoma called Paul's Valley. He made it to this family's farm. They put him up until he passed on. And that's the last known location of our treasure maps.
As the legends grew, treasure hunters throughout the years set up in the cave. What they found only fueled the fires of hidden Spanish wealth.
There was a man by the name of George Dunbar. George came in the cave in the early 1900s. While he was looking around, he found some gold coins and a bracelet. When he found those items, he went treasure crazy. In fact, he locked himself into the cave and started living in there while he was doing his digging. Now the cave is a very large cave system, and he actually needed some help. So he hired 3 men from the local area, and what they did is they started the first mining operation, which was the Sulphur Springs Cave Company. They brought donkeys into the cave, they laid down small gauge railroad tracks, and they started digging this out. Now, after several years of living in the cave, George got very sick, sold the cave around the 1915 or so, passed away, and is buried up in the cemetery up here in Gravette, and that is probably the biggest treasure dig.
Well, there have been a lot of artifacts found here from the conquistadors. They found helmets, they found pieces of armor, some weapons, a few coins, and a bracelet. And a lot of the past owners thought they could just buy the cavern and dig around a little bit and find the treasure. It's not that easy, because you're going to find out this is a very, very amazing cavern. As far as the history, we've been able to verify a lot of the history because we do have a reel-to-reel taped interview of a lady whose father was here who helped rediscover the cavern back in 1885. And of course, the history progressed from there. Now, when we go into the cavern, you can actually tell some areas that were dug out. We have found Spanish symbols carved in the wall, and we've been able to interpret those and go in those directions. Unfortunately, right now at this time, that area is underwater.
2 weeks prior to this investigation, the area was hit by heavy rains, resulting in record flooding. Water still runs through the cavern, and excess rainfall from above ground continues to drip from the ceiling.
Well, we got down there, and it was about 4 years ago. We had a severe drought in this region. The water table dropped significantly. All the lakes, the rivers almost dried up. And me and my wife were down in this one area. We were starting to kind of look around, and we found some old Spanish symbols carved in the wall. Now, what we found looked like a candy cane and had an eyeball beside it, and then some squiggly lines above the eyeball. Well, we interpreted that as turn around and look underneath the water. Now, we weren't standing in the water, so I turned around and I looked where the eye was pointing, and there's a little space between the floor and the wall. When I got up in there, I saw a little room with a long pool of water. So we immediately started digging in to open up that entrance. We found this very, very old wood that was just encased in the clay. It was literally falling apart as we were taking it out. While we were doing this, the rains came in. The water table rose, and this area has been flooded ever since then. We have to wait till the next drought to get back in this area to finish that expedition.
We were given a tour of the cave system. Remarkably, fragments of the past were left behind and survived throughout the years. Names of those who explored before, odd symbols carved into the rock, and unidentifiable cave markings were still present. As we ventured through the tunnels, we were shown where some of the activity had occurred.
Now, this right here is our jellyfish wall, and one of the cool things about working here is our guides get to come in here and they get to crawl around. Well, we had a tour guide that worked for us about 2 or 3 years, and her name was Amber, and she brought one of our new recruits in here to crawl around, and they were just in here playing around, and the new girl went ahead of her up through there, and Amber was behind her, and a big clod of dirt comes winging at her from in here. There was nobody in here. Paul and I was both in the house, so that really kind of freaked her out a little bit. We actually see shadow figures down this way. In fact, I've been down here before and saw him, and it took me a long time before I ever mentioned him to him because I didn't want him to think I was being paranoid. It wasn't until I finally, and then my tour guide Amber, the same thing. She's been down here and saw the shadow figures. 2 years ago, we had a smell down here that smelled just like, now you can see we're underground. I don't know where it came from, but it smelled just like cooking a maple brown sugar oatmeal. mean, the smell was so prominent. And so I had my tour guides not say anything to our guests as we went through. I kind of wanted to see if they picked up on it. And every person that went through were like, where's that smell coming from? Now, when we talk about the smell, it's not like it's a large area. It's just but once again, it's close to one of our dig sites that we have going on back there, so.
Well, that was funny when we came through here, we picked the smell up like it was like tobacco or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was different.
But it was in just one little area and then it was gone, so.
And that's exactly how this is. I mean, it's not like it's the whole passageway. You just kind of walk and then all of a sudden like hits you right in the face and then you walk out of it.
Right, you just kind of walk right through it.
But once again, it's towards a place that, one of our dig sites down there. All right, so right here, you can hear my voice. This is what we call our megaphone room, how my voice is vibrating. And Paul has measured the joints and everything to this room, and we're trying to get back there because we think there's a room bigger than the council room that we were just in. So we want to get in there. And so our initial dig site was right here, and this is the one where my black cat, Spooky, it has a fit whenever we try to dig here.
Hey. I can see that.
That's what I said. Now, it's this passage over here, that's our shaman tunnel. And the reason why we call it the shaman tunnel is because it's about 3 years ago. We had this very elderly man come up here, and we got to talking to him a little bit. He said he was a Native American shaman.
Well, he didn't tell us that till after we got out of the cave.
Right. Well, I was talking to him as we went into the cave because he had asked me if he could bring his divining rods in the cavern. We let people do stuff like that. And he would stop every once in a while and he was doing his thing. And then all of a sudden he stopped for a very long time right here. And he said, there's a lot of spiritual activity here in the cavern. They want us to find the treasure so the spirits can be released and move on. He said the treasure's supposed to be 33 feet back here and 15 feet down. Now, it wasn't only what he was telling us, but also, if you look along the wall, there's these odd markings. And they're not Spanish symbols, they're not Indian symbols or cave symbols or markings. So we just don't know what they are. And so with the oddities of this wall and what the shaman said was enough to compel us to go through there.
Now, this is another place that our tour guide Amber had a lot of problems with because she would come back here, and at that time we had a light. That's where that cord is taken off now. But we had a light, and she'd come back here and bring her guests back here, and that light would be off, and as she started to tell the story, it would start flickering and get dim, and then bright, and dim, and bright, and then it would go off completely. And she'd have to tell our guests she wasn't doing that just for her. And she would even go up here and try to turn the light off, and it'd already be off, but it would still come on. And she would get really bad headaches right here. So back in this tunnel, her headaches were just, she'd get bad migraines. Once she got out of this tunnel and started back around, her headache would subside and she'd be okay.
We do Boy Scout tours and campouts in here, and it's our introduction to caving program. And so when we get done caving and everything, we take the kids in, and they have a camp set up in the big room, the council room. And I usually camp out, or one of our tour guides camps out right here in that cot. The policy is that, if they have to use the restroom during the evening, they have to get a buddy up and get the guide up, and we'll take them out of the cavern and get them back in safely. Well, I was sleeping here, and I kept hearing things or whatever, and all of a sudden I heard, "It's okay, we know our way out," and so I reached for my light and I just grabbed it. I fell out of the bed and I looked all around and nobody was here. So I went down here into the camp and checked on all the kids, and all the kids were sleeping. So that was another weird.
Yeah, that kind of freaked you out a little bit.
It was, because I literally rolled out and fell out of my cot there.
This is where we bring guests in and we take their pictures because there's all these pretty formations right here. So we usually have them standing about right here and we'll take their pictures and they like that. Well, I had a group in that was here, and they backed up there, and I took their pictures, and I always look at it before I hand it back to make sure it's not fuzzy or blurry and stuff. And all of my formations were here, and this was here, but there were no people in the picture, not a one. Now, I would have just thought it was their camera that misfired, had some of the stuff been missing, but it was not. And I was, for the first time, was very scared because I bring people here and I don't know them from anybody. So I said, is there something you guys want to tell me? And they're like, no, why? I said, well, look at your picture. And I turned it around. They're like, hey, where are we at? And I said, I don't know. They're like, oh, that's cool. Will you take another one? And I said, I'll be honest with you. I said, I've got the keys to the cave. If I take another one and you don't show up, I'm gone. I'm leaving you. And so I took another picture, and they showed up that time. But that's the first and the only time I've ever had that happen, to where somebody did not develop in their picture. And like I said, I would have thought it was a fluke if everything had been, some stuff had been missing, but everything was just exactly the way it was supposed to be. So
There's two different stories about the Indian maiden here at the Old Spanish Treasure Cave. One is from a taped interview of a lady whose father helped rediscover the cavern back in 1885. Now, because this Indian lady was helping the conquistadors, the braves murdered her because she was helping them. Now, every once in a while, you're supposed to hear her screams through the cavern. Now, she's supposed to be a protective spirit, so she's not supposed to be hurting anybody or anything like that. You never feel that kind of a vibe in here, but she's supposed to be a protective spirit.
And what's the other story?
The other story is more of a romantic type love story, and you know, as we know, that the conquistadors were a very brutal army to a lot of the Native Americans, and as they'd go through their villages, of course, they often robbed them, and they enslaved and captured a lot of the Native Americans. Well, one of the Native Americans was supposed to, one of the Native American maidens was supposed to have been promised to one of the braves. Well, when they came up here to the cavern, she fell in love with one of the conquistadors, and when they were getting done after they hid their treasure, he had no longer wanted anything to do with her, and so she was thrown or jumped into a chasm inside the cavern, and that's when you're supposed to be able to hear her screams. Now there is a place in the cavern that if you take a picture of, every once in a while she'll show up, or some kind of an image will show up in that picture. Well, to be honest with you, when I bought the cavern, I didn't believe any of this treasure stuff. I thought this was just a gimmick to get people up here. And it wasn't until I did some research and started finding some of the artifacts, and then that's what got me really interested. That's what when the treasure bug hit, we started really exploring and treasure hunting.
To start the night, we were shown just how little light the early treasure hunters had inside the cave. So I'd say one group here and one group back here.
All right.
Who wants to stay here?
I'll just stay here.
Okay.
I can take some people back here.
All right.
You want to go
Sounds
in the
good.
back?
Yeah.
Then I'll hang out here.
Well, one of us has to stay
I'll
here.
stay here.
Somebody-
You look like you wanted to go, so I'll go ahead and chill here.
All right.
I'll go with the blind using.
Está conquistadores aquí.
Do you know where the treasure is? Would you like to help us find it so you can be set free? I know it's my eyesight playing tricks, but I keep seeing sparkles around it.
Around what?
At the right.
On the recorder?
Yeah.
If you have something to say, you know, here's your chance to express what you need to say.
Can you make any kind of sound? Whistle?
Do we have any spirits that are in this cave would like to speak to us? Can you tell us your name? Can you tell us how many Spanish soldiers died in this cave? If there's any spirits that helped bury the treasure, can you tell me where it is located so I can find it and set you free from this location? Hear that?
Yeah. You see me turn my head?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's them or not, but I heard a female's voice.
What does that like? Said who?
Mm-hmm.
Hear that?
Yeah. You see me turn my head?
We know that there was a chapel that the conquistadors had placed. Is this the area the chapel was in?
Gotta be them. I just heard it again. Huh?
Think we're getting interference with the other group?
Very possible.
I didn't hear it. So.
You didn't hear it?
I heard that.
You heard that one?
Time.
I think it's a possibility we could be getting slight interference.
I don't know. They'd have to be pretty
I hear-
far from us. You hear them now?
I heard footsteps coming this way.
After a quick break, we regrouped in the council room to conduct a spirit box session.
So do you think all the dripping water is going to enhance this, or is it going to...
Well, the thing of it is, the dripping water is going to create what people describe as audio matrixing, where it's so constant and everything that your brain tries to make something familiar out of it. So you start hearing voices, things of that nature.
Okay.
It's the same way with photos. You know, when people say, "Oh, I see a face in this photo," is it really a face, or is it like a bunch of tree leaves gathered together and creating a reflection on a window? And you know, people are matrixing their brains, making up something familiar, which always goes to a face.
Right.
It's like looking at clouds and picking animals out of them and stuff like
Looking
that.
at rocks and seeing things.
Yeah. So I mean, audio matrixing and just photo matrixing happens a lot, and people tend to put that in as evidence, which they shouldn't. Okay. Well, like in a circle now.
Do we have any spirits in this great room with us today? Can you give us a sign that you're here? Make a noise, throw a rock at Dave?
I feel like Rodney Dangerfield. Look at the doors. Look. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo David. ¿Cómo te llamas?
Yatehe! Yatehe!
You gonna back away or you want me to back? I did. I'm just doing that so I don't run into it.
Can you touch David and pull him where you want us to go?
Thanks. More than welcome to.
Battery's about dead on this one.
We just got what, 40 minutes, 30 minutes?
Yeah.
We're good.
Is there a maiden Indian lady in here? What happened to you?
If there's anybody here who hears this, this is a way you can communicate with us. This is how you talk to us. This device right here, you can see this. Use this to talk. And we'll hear you from this. So if you can come forward and if you can, try to tell us your name. I'm gonna try to go a different route here. I'm gonna try to go the Dunbar route.
Okay.
Because again, if something talked to you, spoke to you in English,
Right.
so
But what spoke to us, or what spoke to me in English, was a definite woman's voice. And it sounded just like Tracy. Of course, I don't know if she told you that.
no, I mean when you were here with the scouts. or the kids.
Oh, yeah, when we were in this, okay.
Whatever spoke to you then spoke in English.
Yes.
So, let's try this. George Dunbar and Company. If anybody from this company is still here,
You hear that?
I did. Did you guys hear it?
Yep.
I heard something.
Sound like it came from up there?
Like a, yeah.
Yes.
If you're part of that company, please come down here and talk to us for a minute. You're not in trouble. We just want to know a few things. We want to know about you. So this here contraption I have in my hand is a machine that hopefully you can figure out how to use to speak to us. So if you can come down here and try this, we can learn who you are. I'm going to turn this on. If you can come down here and say hello through this. That's a long flash. Can you say hello?
Are you with us?
There for a minute, it sounded like the pattern was speeding up. There was one spot that kind of broke a little. I don't know. Are you part of the Dunbar Company? Would you mind here?
Are you a treasure hunter?
You guys hear how it's changing?
Yeah, the frequency's not the same as it initially started out. It's actually picked up a lot faster. Which, it's funny, because that is normally having to be controlled by the actual device itself.
You can hear it change its intensity.
Will you help us? Can you help us find the treasure?
It's pretty weird. The sound of it just. Camera going dead there? John?
No, I'm having a major malfunction there. Yeah.
What am I holding? Let me get some light on it.
What's your malfunction?
Me,
You're having a malfunction?
it's really bad.
What's going on?
Like, I can't hardly stand up and I'm shaking like hell.
Like your arm was, or?
You're
My whole
probably like
body.
what I am. I'm getting tensed up. Like cold inside, but I'm warm.
My hand, my arm, and
Okay.
the rest of me is like getting real hot.
That's why I changed positions on my camcorder, because my back started getting tense and like I felt like I've been standing or bent over for hours.
And I keep feeling like I got needles
Like I'm
going in my
shaking.
butt and my back.
Oh.
And something
shaking
keeps
real
going like
bad.
this to me. And something went
We
like
can
that
escort you
to
guys
me.
up to the.
Really? We're all right. Go for it.
You guys need to get out.
No.
We don't need
I mean,
you collapsing in
don't
the
wait.
middle of a freaking
Don't wait
cave.
till emergency happens.
That ain't it. Just
Not having a heart attack, are you?
I don't think so.
Barry will get you
No,
knocked
it was
out.
just like all of a sudden it just started buzzing real bad and it's like it just started vibrating. I couldn't like.
You think it could have been the effects of the audio bouncing around in here?
I don't know. But what I think with the audio is when you guys were asking the question, and when you hit the right question, that thing started speeding up like really super fast. So I think if you pay attention to how fast that's gonna be your yes.
Well, I noticed, I was thinking maybe something was getting close to it, it was slowing down, and then when it was backing away, it was speeding up.
I know,
Like, it was picking up the interference of,
It's almost like the more faster it went, the more I started
Yeah.
feeling tensed up, like something was right up. And at one point in time, I felt some air just swoosh across my face, right by you.
well, I wasn't gonna say nothing, but whenever we play these cameras back, if either Barry or you were on me, there's 2 times where you'll see me make a face or something, like, you know. Cause something touched me right here. My pants are dry.
See, and I'm feeling it back behind me on my butt and my.
Well, I
and my
seen you,
leg.
I had the camera on you when you was reaching down and grabbing your
That was the
leg.
second time.
Yeah.
Because the first time, my pant leg was kind of out like that, and I felt it just kind of go like up against my leg. And I just, shrugged it off and like, whatever. If it wants to do it again, it'll do it again. And then I felt it again, or something like it. So then I checked to see if I had gotten any drips or anything on my leg, and I didn't. So, it was weird. I'm not gonna say it was a ghost or anything. Just weird.
I think you need to
Keep going.
keep going. Like I said, I think what changed the question, whatever you're wanting to know, just kind of like a process of elimination.
Do this then.
We eventually moved further back into the cave. During a spirit box session, at the location where a shaman claimed the treasure was, we all heard a sound that came from behind me.
That wasn't me.
That wasn't you?
That wasn't me. I'm watching you guys.
I hear it, what is that?
The dripping water made it difficult to hear things and was rather overpowering on our audio. Whatever personal experiences we may have had cannot be confirmed or be labeled as paranormal. A follow-up will have to be done when conditions are better. As for the cave and the treasure, only time will tell the location of the treasure and the haunting history of who may still be looking for it.